right, it's the Nerd Herfers, the podcast that answers the question, what the hell are you guys doing? I am Larry Brantley, and I am sitting here with my two best friends, Micah Donahoe.
Greetings, programs.
And Brent Williams.
Hello.
And we are the Nerd Herfers. We are three guys, middle-aged guys, if anybody's asking, who enjoy cigars and whiskey and all the nerdy shit we loved when we were kids. And I think we've got a topic tonight that I just think might tug on all nerd heartstrings everywhere throughout the multiverse. But first, let's talk a little bit about Nerd Herfers. We have been... What episode are we on now, man? We're in the...
This is like 25.
We are getting up there. So we're at the quarter century mark.
We are, yeah.
That is fantastic.
It's crazy.
And all because you guys are still listening, and we hope more people are joining. If you would like to join the Nerd Herfers community, you can do so by going to nerdherfers.com and clicking the subscribe button. You'll be notified when a new episode drops. We've got a cool merch store. We are eventually going to have some subscriber-only content, all kinds of fun stuff in there. Hit us on our Instagram account at NerdHerfers. Just hit the follow button and follow us because we would appreciate it very much. Because even though we are Gen Xers, we do appreciate being noticed. Okay, so basically this is
He's lying.
I can't sell that. I don't care. But we'd still love to have you along for the ride. Here's how the show works every week. One of us brings some cigars for us all to try. And other than the guy who brings the cigars, the other two don't know. Then somebody else brings a bottle of whiskey for us to sample. Again, we don't know that. And then we've got the topic of conversation for the podcast. We all know about that in advance just because we're nerds and we need to know. We need to know so we can talk about it. And tonight's a really, really good one. But before we get there, first it's... Nerd News! That's right, it's last week's news today. So you probably have already heard this, but you haven't heard our take on it. And joining us in the studio, as always, is our anchorman, Brent Williams. Brent, what have you got for us this week?
All right, well, Gen Xers can rejoice because finally, after 10 years, Flappy Bird is coming back.
Oh, okay.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Do you guys remember that game, Flappy Bird?
Absolutely not.
It became like an overnight sensation, and the guy that created it pulled it off the Play Store because he said that it was too addictive. He built it as a game, like you take a few minutes to kill some time or whatever, and it became like super addictive.
Yeah, it's a side scroller of Joust.
Yeah, pretty kind of.
Oh.
So
you did know what it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was like,
again, no.
Yeah.
I'd just rather go play Joust.
But anyway, so some weird organization called the Flappy Bird Foundation, I think it's called.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah, Flappy Bird Foundation.
There's always a special interest group.
Yeah, they acquired the rights to it, and basically what happened is the creator didn't even show up to defend his right to it, and just let them have it basically because he said he's like done with it. You know?
How are they making money and not us?
That's just crazy.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, Micah.
Wow.
But I ask that question every single day.
All right, so I'm actually excited about this. There's a new show coming to HBO Max called Dune Prophecy. Have you seen the trailers for that yet?
Not yet.
So this is 10,000 years before the Dune trilogy.
Okay.
It is the origin story of the Bene Gesserit and the Kwisatz Haderach prophecy.
I am in.
Yeah, I'm there.
I'm super
Say
excited
no
for
more.
this. It looks so good.
more.
So anyway, all right. And then, okay, this is pretty cool. This is super nerdy. Hold on.
Nerd alert!
Okay.
A fast radio burst was recently received by astronomers in Australia that has been dated back 8 billion years.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So fast burst radio waves, they are these really strong radio signals that last milliseconds, right? And so they have some huge, radar array thing. They pointed at the origin and discovered it came from a galaxy that was 8 billion years away.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And
that's
they're
pretty cool.
positive that somebody in the trailer wasn't playing the end of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon,
Right.
and they accidentally caught that.
I think it's just another universe that sees us and they're just going, stop it. I think if they slow that signal down, it's just going to say,
quit it.
stop
You guys
already.
are all sloppy seconds. We already
Quit
did
it.
that.
Yeah.
God.
So anyway, it was attributed to a galaxy far, far away. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, what could that have to do with today's show?
Oh,
I don't
stop
know.
it! Foreshadowing.
Last thing, there is a creepy new robot that's about to get released. There's this whole line. There's this whole line of humanoid robots that companies are getting ready to release, and these are what they call home assistance robots.
Oh my
No.
God, we're all gonna die.
This company
No.
called. This is how it happens, people. This is how the apocalypse starts.
Oh yeah.
There's a
want
company.
Skynet?
Yeah, there's a company called 1X, and they have a robot called the Neo Beta, humanoid robot, 5 foot 5 inches tall, 66 pounds. There's this video of it doing like handing a bag to the lady. She's like walking. He's like, "Here's your bag." And then it does this thing where like motions her over to take a picture with him and stuff. And I swear to you, it looks like a person in a suit. And that was the speculation. People were going, this is a promo video and that's just a person in a suit. But it's actually not. It's the actual robot.
That is terrifying.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this is Love, Death, and Robots, where that
Yeah.
where
That
that
is
thing tries to
terrifying.
kill them inside their house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm at once excited about that and terrified about that.
I'm just straight terrified.
Yep.
There's nothing exciting about that.
I mean, it'd be kind of cool to have a robot in your house, like, go clean the toilets. You don't have to do that anymore, right?
well, but what if they decide to clean the toilet by shoving your head in it?
Yeah,
until
what if
the
they
bubbles stop?
What if they use your beard to scrub the damn toilet?
Yeah.
Wedgie robot.
Swirly robot,
Like I didn't have enough of those bullies in school.
right?
But yeah,
now
so-
I bought one. Put
Yeah,
it in my
so
house.
Those are going
I
to
missed
be
it so much.
Those are going to be in home soon for the initial test. So
Not
I'm
not
just
in
waiting.
my house.
Yeah,
High five.
I'm just waiting for the first news story about the berserk robot in someone's house, right?
Oh my gosh.
Well,
It fights with the Roomba or something.
Or like the movie AI.
thank
where
you.
it's just gonna
Thank
kill
you
'em.
for that story that I will now not sleep tonight.
Yeah.
And that is it for this edition of Nerd News. That's last week's news today. And just, all I can tell you, kids, is watch out for killer robots. Okay, let's get into it, boys. We are here tonight to celebrate cigars and whiskey and nerd stuff. And it was my turn to bring the cigars. Let's begin with a story, shall we?
Oh,
I like story time.
I love,
Come on, Grandpa.
Gather
Tell us
round,
a story.
children. Gather at my knee, and I shall tell thee the story of Pete Johnson and Tatuaje cigars.
All right.
So Pete Johnson is a boutique guy. Tatuaje is one of the bigger boutique cigar makers in the world. And Pete was very smart because he married into the My Father family.
Yes.
Which means he has access to literally some of the greatest tobacco fields in the world. Consequently, he makes some awesome, awesome cigars. And he's also a movie fan. And several years ago, I think it started in 2007, he started every year making a cigar based on one of his favorite movie monsters. And so there is an entire collection of Tatuaje cigars that comes out every year called the Monsters. And they started making them in different vitolas. And they are, I will tell you straight ahead, that the interior of these cigars are kind of the same, but not really. They're Nicaraguan binder and filler. It's the wrapper that makes all the difference. And this year, I've got my hands on some skinny monsters. And so what we're doing tonight, fellas, which we've never done before, is the three of us are going to smoke 3 different monsters tonight.
What?
We're smoking 3 different monsters. I will tell you the
I didn't know that was a thing we could do.
the breakdown of the cigar for each of the ones that we're going to do. Let me find my notes. There we go. So this is a skinny monster, meaning it's a petite Lancero. So it's a 38 by 6.
First
ring
time we do
gauge
Lanceros here.
ring gauge to length of cigar. And I chose a monster for each of you based on who I felt like you would be this monster in a movie. All right?
Awesome.
So, Micah, I'm going to ask you to pass this over to Brent. This is the skinny monster Frank
Nice.
for Frankenstein.
That's totally my personality.
Micah gets the skinny monster Wolf.
Ooh,
As
okay.
in the Wolfman.
My
And
wife
I
would be
have
happy with
chosen
that.
for myself the skinny monster Leatherface.
Awesome.
Now, let me real quick tell you about each of the cigars that you're about to smoke. Brent, you've got Skinny Monster Frank. The wrapper is Connecticut Broadleaf. And the wrapper, binder filler is going to be Nicaraguan Undisclosed. Micah, you've got the Wolfman, the Wolf. The wrapper is an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper. along with, again, undisclosed Nicaraguan binder and filler. The face, which I am holding, is going to be a Mexican San Andres wrapper with, again, Nicaraguan binder and filler. These are the Tatuaje Skinny Monsters.
Awesome.
So go ahead. And now you're going to be, for those of you who've listened to the podcast before, we always smoke the same cigar, and then we take notes, and a lot of similarities, sometimes not. We are now smoking 3 different cigars tonight for the first time on the show. And so we're gonna kick it off.
I'm getting
with the Skinny
just
Monster.
on the nose. I'm getting cedar in mine.
I'm getting hay.
Hey.
Hey.
Now I will say,
Hay on the nose.
because I'm a huge Tatuaje fan, I've smoked every single monster that exists. They do make them in different vitolas, depending on the year and whatever mood Pete is in at the time. But I've smoked these skinnies, and I will tell you that they're very, very good. I will caution you, though, because I know you're going to enjoy these cigars. Take your time.
Yes, sir.
Because they are petite Lanceros, and if you're not careful,
The first 5 minutes.
we will be
First third,
talking.
Second, third.
Yes,
Done.
yeah, exactly. It'll be that fast. So go ahead and fire them up.
I was just glad the fact that I could actually V-cut this this Lancero.
Oh, yeah. Oh. The Mexican San Andreas is oily and dark and rich and sort of reminds me of Leatherface's face.
Yum.
Yeah. So real quick, give me your initial thoughts on your cigar. Brent, you've got the Frank.
Cedar. There's this roasted flavor in here. Maybe it's toasted.
Maybe
Toasted
it's
marshmallow.
Maybe it's electricity bouncing off of
Yeah.
burning flesh.
Yeah. It's rotten flesh. That's what it is. It's like a toasted marshmallow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very Halloween.
Yeah.
Micah, how's it going over there?
All right. Lots of hay. If you could take the sweetness out of an almond,
First of all, what almonds
it's
are you
right
eating that
on
are
the
sweet?
very. Almonds are always kind of a little sweet to me. I don't know.
If they're roasted, yes, I agree.
Yeah.
If they're rolled in sugar?
Yeah. No.
Dude, have you ever had those on the streets of New York in the fall?
Oh, no, not New York, but other places.
That's the only place to get them, bro.
This is extremely
What
earthy.
about Buc-ee's?
Yeah.
This is extremely earthy.
Those are a
lots of-
mere shadow of the real ones you get in New York City.
All right, let's let Micah do his thing.
Oh, sorry, Micah.
very, very earthy. Lots of hay, toasted almond, earth, dirt, hay. Yep.
Earth, dirt, hay. All right, fantastic. Well, Micah, you were in charge of the bottle this week.
Oh, I sure am. Hold on.
One moment.
Yes, I've got it for us.
I told him like 10 minutes ago, get ready, and now he's like, oh,
Okay, so get this. So my daughter's going to school in Arkansas, and
we love her anyway.
I don't know if we're going to rip on Arkansas after this. We'll find out after this bottle.
They have schools in Arkansas?
They do. Very prominent ones. So I received this bottle as I didn't know exactly what to expect. I found out through a little bit of research that there is definitely a lesser line of this one. But my family ended up getting me something that was aged 4 years, 100 proof. It's got a mash bill of 82% corn, 9% barley, and 9% wheat.
Sounds like it's going to be sweet.
It is, I would think. Actually, I haven't had it, so we're going to find out.
All right.
We're going to find out. This is one of those moments where I really wanted something that I'd never had before. I was going to share it on the show, and we're going to really critique this bottle on its own and find out if we're going to give Arkansas any kind of props versus the kind of ragging that we typically do on Arkansas. in
Okay.
general. All right.
I mean, in the last episode, we ripped on Arkansas pretty good. I remember that. It's almost like it was just a few minutes ago.
This is the 4-year Rocktown, Arkansas straight bourbon whiskey out of Little Rock, Arkansas.
Little Rock!
Why is it in a Coke bottle?
It is not in a Coke bottle for the audience. I'm not going to play the rules of improv on that one.
Yes, and?
No, and. Okay. This is double distilled. It's all locally sourced grains, locally sourced wood, So these will be American white oak barrels, except all out of Arkansas. Everything's out of Arkansas.
Well, then they're not American.
Stop it. God. Just stop it.
I'm actually wondering if we're going to change Brent's opinion on Arkansas just a smidge.
No, I love Arkansas, actually. It's
all right.
beautiful.
Now, for the sound we all love. Ready?
Nice.
Yes, we do love that sound.
No creaky sound. Oh, probably because it doesn't have a cork.
Wait, what?
It's not a cork stopper.
Is it faux cork?
It is faux plastic.
Well, yeah, that's auspicious start.
All right, shall we get this
let's-
party started?
Let's give it a shot. And by shots, I mean we just may be doing shots of this. Oh boy. You know what I love about you, Micah? Is your sense of adventure. You're not afraid to go to a state that's still stuck in 1957 and get a bottle of whiskey.
You know, I've never had a whiskey that has a head on it before.
Is that foam supposed to be there? Huh.
Oh, please don't suck.
Woo! Well, all the hair is burned out of my nose.
Oh, my goodness.
And actually, some of the hair on Brent's actual head has burned off.
That, underneath the ethanol is very much creme brulee, caramel.
It's the burnt sugar, brown
Burnt sugar,
yeah.
brown sugar thing, yeah.
Now, this is definitely in a proof zone that I don't spend a ton of time, even though I like it.
What's the proof?
Just because your liver's delicate?
It's 100 proof. No, it's like
Okay.
anything. It feels like anything over 95%, like 95 proof. I tend to too much bite for me.
Is
I
this-
want
is
to
this
enjoy
a-
I was going to
my
say
bourbons.
you vomit on the floor of your bathroom, but okay, that's
Is this
fine
a
too.
bottle?
We haven't even tried this yet. We're just ripping it apart.
we're
Is this
not-
a bottle and bond? 100 proof?
It is.
You said that, didn't you?
I did.
Well,
Okay.
we got a lot of. I agree with you, Brent. We got a lot of caramelized sugar on the top.
Oh, you're like cherry candy.
No, I'm not
Oh
getting
wait,
cherry.
you don't like cherry at
I
all.
I can't.
I like
I'm
actual
afraid.
cherry.
I'm afraid to go in.
Oh no, I'm doing it. I'm
I'm gonna
going.
go. Here we go.
Firewater.
It doesn't. It doesn't quite hit the way that Ho Chi Town does.
This
It's more like Hoochie Town.
But that burn does
This-
not stick. That doesn't leave.
It doesn't. That
This,
is lingering.
this is the kind of thing that white traders used to trade with the Native Americans, isn't it?
I don't know, but I can
Firewater.
definitely
I
tell
can
you.
give you 20 beaver pelts for a bottle of
Hey,
this stuff.
if I was sitting in the middle of the cold, cold winter snow and drinking this, I don't think that I would
Instead
actually
of being on my patio in Texas in September when it's still 89
Well,
degrees
I can
outside
tell
at
you,
night.
I can bet that when we drop some ice in this, that it's gonna it's gonna sweeten up and smooth out. But that
hang on.
that has got quite a burn.
I can't talk.
It's like if there's a combination of white and black pepper.
We might have to go to the ice sooner than normal, boys.
Time for an ice break.
Well, before we... Well, hey,
You're gonna laugh at me. One of the flavors I'm getting, it reminds me of. You remember when the snow cone guy used to come through your neighborhood?
Yes.
Yeah.
It tastes like you were saying cherry before.
Yeah.
I mean, they were basically all the same flavor, just different colors, right? But that's what it tastes. It tastes like someone took like a snow cone and it tastes like that syrup they put in the snow cone.
Oh,
I get a back end, I swear to God, of cola.
yeah.
Well, it's in a cola bottle.
I'm actually
really-
getting some apricot.
I love how you went, I'm getting some apricot.
Well, it's just that burn.
Yeah. Sorry, that was my spleen clenching up.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
So we use this one to clean our livers.
Ooh, load it.
that's a different kind of detox. Woo! All right. Well,
Hey, you win some, you
All
lose
right,
some.
so get past the ethanol burn. There's actually a decent flavor to it.
you
It's
know what?
a
I
little
just
it's
got,
a little sweet. So
all of us are just like going like,
Yeah,
I have this burning in my chest that won't go away.
and it's not acid indigestion.
and it's not Mexican food.
Yeah. It's a different kind of burn. It's
it's
an
not-
Arkansas. We call this an Arkansas burn.
Arkansas's habanero burn, if you will.
They should
man.
name this bottle the Razorback.
Yeah.
You know what? You're not wrong.
Okay. Well, we're off and running, guys. It's going to be real interesting to see how we're speaking at the end of this particular podcast,
Because the whole episode's done like this.
right? But in the meantime, We've got 3 Tatuaje Skinny Monsters in hand, and we've got a bottle of Rocktown,
Yes.
100 proof, bottled in bond,
Arkansas straight
firewater.
bourbon. Yes, firewater.
But now we're going to need something to talk about, and we left the topic this week to Brent. And Brent, what did you decide we need to nerd out about this week?
Well, I think this won't be a surprise to anyone. Let's take a journey to a galaxy far, far away.
You better not cut that out. You better leave that in.
Oh my gosh.
How would you spell that in the scroll at the beginning of the Star Wars movies?
U-R-R-A-R-R-A.
Once upon a time in a galaxy far, far away.
You're like Foster Brooks telling the story.
Oh, God, yes.
And for anyone under 50, Foster
Yeah,
Brooks.
he
He was a comedian
He
who
was a
played drunk all
comedian
the
who
time.
pretended to be drunk, but never actually was.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely going to need some ice with that.
So the topic is,
Star Wars.
but not just all Star Wars. What are we talking about?
The original trilogy.
This,
4, 5, and 6, baby.
this,
right.
this.
Yeah. It's high time we did this. And this is going to be an all-out Star Wars Lovefest. And unfortunately, we don't have 20 hours to get into everything. So we're going to have to, like...
Oh, my gosh. The
we're
amount
gonna
of
have to,
cutting
like,
that's going on the floor is
we're
going to
going
be
to have to
crazy.
focus. The hard part is we're going to have to focus on this because
I don't know how we focus on this.
I don't know. We all 3 love this so much. This is going to be one of those
all right.
parties.
Well,
in
let's
our
start off
heads.
easy. We've actually, I think we've heard a couple of these stories, but let's start off with our origin story with Star Wars. How
Oh,
were
yeah.
we introduced to Star Wars?
Well, again, I'll tell the story very quickly because I know I've told it before. I was, let's see, that's 77. So I was 10, I was just shy of 10 years old. And my cousin Steve and I were dropped off at Greens Point Mall in Houston, Texas, which we all used to call Guns Point Mall.
Yep.
It was a very dangerous place and just really great parenting to drop 2 not even teenagers off at a dangerous mall to go watch movies. We had told our parents we were going to watch Benji, but really we were going to see The Deep, which was a rated R movie with Nick Nolte and Jacqueline Bisset because a couple of our friends had told us that you could see Jacqueline Bisset's boobies. We were walking down the hall, and this one theater, the doors hadn't shut yet, and I heard this low, deep rumbling sound. I saw this giant spaceship chasing this other, not as big spaceship, and I was instantly hooked. I completely forgot everything at that point. I walked into the theater. I left Steve to his own devices. Didn't even see him at that point. The only seat left in the house was way down front, so I went way down front. I have neck injuries to this day. But I watched Star Wars for the first time, A New Hope. And my world forever changed. Forever changed.
That was me in Temple of Doom.
Actually, it wasn't called A New Hope at that time.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so finish what you're going to say and then hit that button.
Nerd alert!
It wasn't called New Hope at that time.
wasn't
That's
called New Hope at
literally
the time.
what he was going
Yeah,
to say.
that's what it was. Yeah.
But I that was my origin story. Was it May 1977, right?
May 25th,
May 25th,
1977.
1977.
Yep.
And that was the first time I saw Star Wars. Now, what happened was I got out of the theater, and Steve was in the lobby terrified because he was convinced I'd been kidnapped by people in a white panel van with good candy. And I was like, no. He was like,
Well,
why?
you hope the candy's
And he
good.
was like, literally the first thing he says to me was, "Where were you? I saw Jackie Bisset's boobies." And I was like, I saw something better. And so this was back in the day when the ushers didn't clear everybody out.
Right, yeah.
So you could literally go and pay for one movie and watch movies all day.
Yep.
So I said, we're going back. And we went back in. We watched it 2 more times. It was nighttime dark by the time we got out of the 3rd showing. Nobody had ever come looking for us. Like, no one had called. No ushers were yelling our names. I finally had to get on a payphone and call my mom and ask her to come pick us up. And she was like, "Oh, you done?" But my life was forever changed on that day because of that movie.
Well, mine was, so the first time I saw it, we had just bought a new car that day. And my dad was like, "What do you want to do now?" And I'm like, "Let's drive the car to the theater and see this cool new movie I heard about." And so we watched it. I fell in love with it. I used to go to work with my dad, and there was a theater nearby, and I would have him drop me off at the theater in the morning with plenty of money, and I would just sit there all day long and watch Star Wars. And I literally did that 5 days a week. Like, they knew who I was. I walked in, and they're like, "Hey, There's the kid again, going to watch Star Wars. And, oh, yeah, I'm 6 years old at this time.
Wow. That's good parenting.
We grew up fast in the 70s. Well, it was right next to the office. So, it would only take him like 5 minutes to get there if anything bad
Well, you were already like 22 by the time the movie came out, right?
I think he said he was 6.
26? You said 26?
I think he said 6.
All right,
Oh,
Micah,
okay,
stop
36.
Now.
Got
Stop
it.
now, Micah.
So sometimes Micah tries to be funny on
Yeah.
purpose.
Well, he's trying to get us back for all of the age jokes we do to him. I get it.
What? Because he's
Oh,
a
and I
child?
appreciate you
Because
guys
he- yeah.
stomping on my jokes. That's fine, whatever.
Oh, so sensitive.
What's the first rule of passive aggressive Fight Club? Nothing. Never mind. Forget about it.
All right, Micah, what about you?
All right, so this is where, of course, I date myself. But I was
That's called narcissism.
7 years old.
Okay.
No, wait. I was 6 years old, and Empire Strikes Back had just come out. Right? 1981?
1980.
80? Apologies. I was 5 years old. And so I really wanted to see this. I begged. My parents finally took me. I saw it. My whole world opened up, which, by the way, not a bad way to start your love for Star Wars with Empire Strikes Back. But, of course, it all led
Yeah.
into I need to see what came before. Please.
Yeah.
I had every toy under the sun from Empire Strikes Back. I had the sleeping bag. I had the placemats. I had the bed sheets.
Yeah.
I had
Yep.
all the action figures.
The bed sheets from the 80s for kids, which, as we all know, were highly flammable.
Oh, absolutely. But, once a TIE fighter starts, like, gunning that stuff down, it catches on fire, it lights up quick. You don't burn for very long.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So you did not see them in order.
No.
So I have a question. So when did you see Star Wars then?
So this was also around 1980 when the video stores started to come out. The brand...
So at 5 years old, watching Empire for the first time, how did you know that there was a movie that came before?
Well, I didn't until somebody told me.
Okay.
So once I had that one under my belt, of course, you had to wait a little bit for it to come to the video stores, and the video stores were pretty expensive. So anytime I wanted to rent a movie, first you had to have a VHS player. So we ended up having like one of the first VHS players. We never got on the Betamax bandwagon. So
Good thing too.
yeah, right.
It was better tech, but it never survived.
That's true. And so that's when I caught up there. And then, of course, shortly afterwards, got my hands on Return of the Jedi, and it was a done deal.
So you didn't see Return of the Jedi in the theater?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I did.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we're at a general consensus that of those three, the best was Empire. But I'm
of
curious to
course.
know why each of you believe that.
Just a better story. It's the cliffhanger one, the cliffhanger episode. And plus so I would posit that episode 2 is better if you had seen, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say episode 2.
What is wrong with
I know,
you?
episode 5 is better if you had seen episode 4 first, because you get to see a lot of character growth in the second one.
Agreed.
And we get to really find out who these people are.
That's true.
Right? There was a lot left up to speculation in the first movie, of course, because it was kind of fast-paced. And, you find out, of course, the big secret.
I think what caught my attention about Empire was that every movie that I had seen so far up to that point had a specific formula. Protagonist, antagonist, good guy wins. That's just the way it always was. And in Empire, it was the first movie that I saw where the good guys lost. But they weren't down and out. It's like they lost the battle, but not the war. And that's what caught my attention. That's where I knew I wanted to know more about this. And you said that before that seeing episode 4 before 5 was important. But I got to tell you, having seen it in the opposite direction, I was in a spot where I was like, oh my gosh, that's why this is the. Oh my gosh, this is why this is.
I think you're proving my point, because now you're grokking Empire Strikes Back a little bit better, because now you're seeing the origin, everything that came before that story.
Yeah, but it was an excitement level that I was really digging on. So, I mean, yes, it would have been awesome to see the character progression, but at the same time, it was like seeing an origin story,
Right.
that you didn't know anything about. It's like, oh wow, this is why. Okay, so this is where Luke came from.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
My absolute favorite joke in the entire history of The Simpsons was a flashback scene where young Homer and Marge are walking out of the theater of The Empire Strikes Back, and there's this long, long line of people waiting to get into the theater. And he walks out going, "That was the greatest movie I've ever seen. I can't believe Darth Vader is Luke's father." And you just hear this
the whole line go,
groan.
"Oh,
No.
Well, I was watching X-Men Apocalypse the other day, and that's the third X-Men movie, right?
Ish.
Well,
That timeline is so screwed up.
Well, so they all go and it's 1983.
Yes.
So they all go and they watch Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
And you hear Jean Grey goes, "We all know the third one's not the best one." Yeah, which I thought was really funny.
I liked it. I did. Well, and at the time, you got to take my age in consideration when it came to Return of the Jedi, because that's when people that were older than me took the Kevin Smith approach, where they were talking. It's like, all Return of the Jedi had was a bunch of Muppets,
Which were supposed to be Wookiees at first.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, and before you said that Star Wars: A New Hope wasn't the original name, wasn't it just Star Wars?
It was just Star Wars. Yeah.
So let's talk about the history of the films a little bit. We got to go back into Lucas lore for this a little bit.
Which, by the way, everybody, this is going to be a Brent-centric episode here, so...
Yeah, I'm just trying to shut down all of these random fact thoughts that I'm having in my head, because I could just blurt out a million random
Well,
things.
but I'm talking about the origin of the overall story of Star Wars. Lucas drew heavily on the work of an American writer and historian named Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell is probably most known for a book that he wrote, I think it was in 1949, called The Hero with a Thousand Faces. And it was basically a study in archetypal hero types. And I remember, and I don't know where I saw this, but at some point, because Campbell died in 87, but at some point there is an interview with, it's a conversation more than an interview between Lucas and Campbell, where they're talking about the hero's journey and, you know, the archetypes that exist. And you've got, you know, the Han Solo archetype, which is the sort of anti-hero or reluctant hero. You've got the comedy relief in C-3PO and R2-D2. You've got the potential love interest in Leia. All of these things. And I just thought that it was fascinating that Lucas dug so deep into this mythology and lore to come up with this, what at the time, visually was completely new, right? Also the fact that the original Star Wars movie was basically produced with, you know, chewing gum and baling wire in terms of a budget. It was just amazing. And it was also, and I think I've mentioned this before, it was the first time I'd seen a science fiction film that wasn't all clean lines.
Yeah,
and
that was one of the big
super
differentiators.
futuristic. It was like, it was the future, or maybe not the future, but it was different. It was
a long time ago.
Long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but everything was used and scarred and scratched and dirty.
It's
and
relatable.
There was a gritty reality to that I think made it a lot easier for audiences to suspend their disbelief.
Well, that was important for the rebels, at least, because I mean, when you see everything that had come from the bases for the ships and everything that was part of the Rebel Alliance, everything was what felt kind of dirty and put together. Even the X-wings were carbon scored, but everything of the Empire was so clean and crisp.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so I mean, to your point, I would agree with you, but only on the Rebel Alliance.
Well, but there was, I don't know.
You don't think that the
No. I mean, it's
agree
the
with what you're
planets
saying.
and the cities and all that stuff,
right?
And the ships and
right. Even.
But I think that's part of the adding to the I don't know what word to use here, ominousness of the Empire it was so clean and rigid and orderly, right?
Yeah, but
and there was a clear reference there to authoritarianism,
right?
Fascism, and everything else.
But we didn't really get to see Imperial controlled planets in the first ones. We only got to see where the rebels set up shop. Or where Luke grew up.
But we got to see the interior of their ships and stuff. Right?
No, but I mean, when you were talking about planets, I feel like we didn't get to see clean imperialistic rule until things like Coruscant.
Easy question. Maybe not an easy question. Out of all three movies, who was your favorite character?
Micah.
Oh, Old Ben. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Old Ben. I loved the idea of the hermit that had been there. It was obvious that he was there to look over Luke, even though we weren't told that yet. Because he was, he had a connection with him. Old Ben was like, stay away from that dude. He's like a pedophile.
Not the term that Owen used.
That wasn't actually used in the movie, but yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe the cut that I did.
Just a crazy old wizard.
Maybe
I
it was
believe
the
is what he
edited ABC made-for-television version.
You're
where
thinking of the Star Wars holiday special.
We'll get there.
That was a very
we'll get to
different
that.
thing.
We'll get to that.
For me, I always wanted to be Han Solo.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
I love the idea of the swashbuckle. He was half cowboy, half pirate, all attitude. He had a kick-ass sidekick, and when the chips were down, he actually thought about something other than himself.
Yeah.
And he had that low-slung blaster.
Yeah.
And
very Western.
Everything about that was Western.
Yeah.
Like even the Mos Eisley Tavern, that was an old saloon in any old West film, and just his presence on camera, and that's just that's Harrison Ford all over, young Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And he had that big scar on his chin. So this is a guy who's seen some things. He's earned his arrogance.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I want to add real quick, to the Old Ben thing, was that for me that was the introduction to the Force until we got to Yoda. And the whole idea of the Force and basically wizard-type samurai, oh my gosh, I was so on board.
Yeah.
What about you, Brent?
Darth Vader.
Do tell.
100% Darth Vader. He was just misunderstood. His heart was in the right place. No, he was just my favorite character. He only had 12 minutes of screen time in the first movie, right? But he had such a powerful presence. I remember one of the first figures I ever bought was Darth Vader. I think he was the first figure I bought was the Darth Vader.
Mine was Old Ben.
Yeah. I don't know.
Lightsaber coming out of his arm.
I've always been, I love the Imperials because I love the Stormtroopers.
For those of you who don't know, Brent actually was a stormtrooper.
Well,
once a stormtrooper, always a stormtrooper.
I was in the 501st, yeah. And I do have stormtrooper armor, so yeah.
Before we get on to the next part of our Love Fest, let's talk about the first third of your cigar, boys.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I wanted to know. So, if you're just joining us, we are each smoking for the first time on the show 3 different cigars tonight. They're all by Tatuaje. They're called the Skinny Monsters. They're all based off of Pete Johnson's love of movie monsters when he was a kid. Brent is smoking the Frank. And what are your thoughts on the Frank?
I'm still getting that toasted marshmallow.
Okay.
There's a creaminess, a mouthfeel that's creamy.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting like chocolate or pepper or anything like that.
Okay.
It's mostly, and it's not like a real sweet toasted marshmallow,
No, it's more of the charred kind.
The charred
right?
kind, yeah.
That probably goes good on a s'more.
Yeah.
Brent is smoking the Skinny Monster Wolfman. How are you liking your cigar?
That's Micah.
Sorry, Micah.
What's up?
I'm looking right at you.
It's all good.
That's Micah smoking the Wolf. What are your thoughts on the Wolf?
All right, so mine has turned into to a creamy milk chocolate on the retrohale, definitely, and then but still hay and earthy, but creamy, subtle. Very, very subtle.
And I am smoking the Skinny Monster Face, as in leather face. And actually, what I'm getting a lot right now is leather. Oiled leather, like saddle leather. Mm. It's deep and rich, but I'm also starting to get some more earth tones in there. Terre noire, as the French like to call it. But I'm enjoying it very much. Let's get back into the Star Wars Love Fest. So the last question was, what was the character you most wanted to be? The question I have for the panel is, what is the character that you least identified with in the trilogy, and why?
Every other one? I don't know. No, probably... That's a good question. Least identified with. I definitely don't identify with Chewbacca. Because I'm not
sidekick.
Well, wait a minute. You're not digging deep enough into the Chewbacca character.
Yeah,
just because you can't understand him, his loyalty level.
Yeah, I'm not that loyal.
And by the way,
I'm just kidding.
Wookiees
Don't test
live
me.
a really, really,
400 years.
really long time.
400 years is how long they live. That's actually a really difficult question, because I think one of the greatest things about Star Wars is there's something in every character to identify with. You know, you have the full complement in these movies. I mean, even Grand Moff Tarkin, even the Emperor, there's parts of, you know, people don't like to admit or talk about, but there's parts of people that definitely relate to the Emperor.
Well,
right?
I'm gonna say something that might be a little controversial to the panel, because I have a definite answer to this question.
Me too.
Of the character that I least identified with. And this character was in my favorite movie of the trilogy, which was Empire Strikes Back, and that is Lando Calrissian. Because from the get-go, I was like, you wormy little son of a bitch.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you? And even after he revealed that he was on the side of right, I was like, what was all that shit back there? That was unnecessary, man.
Self-preservation.
Self-preservation.
Okay, so I would posit to the panel that no one's ever had thoughts of self-preservation before. Like if you were in a certain situation.
Not the point.
Okay.
The point is, what character did you least identify?
I know. I'm just saying.
You're not. You can just say all you want.
Nerd alert!
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
happening.
saying.
That was the character that I least
Actually-
identified with. I could answer
Yeah.
the question. Micah, you said you definitely had one.
Yep. Luke Skywalker.
Really?
Wow.
Do tell.
Okay.
Because up until the point where he dies later, he has maintained being a whiny little bitch. And that's one of the things that when I was
Okay.
growing up,
We're about to have a throwdown.
let's do this. When I was growing
Before we do, let Micah finish.
I will.
when I was growing up, I wouldn't necessarily say that I didn't have any lack of patience, but I can tell you that through my entire life, I have tried to find a way to understand things before. I never rushed a project, you know. Even later on as an artist, I focus really, really hard. The monotony of leatherworking, for instance, takes patience. And if you don't exert patience in what you're trying to do or what you're trying to learn, then it comes out like crap. It doesn't...
Isn't that a piece of wisdom that comes with age and experience, though?
Yeah.
I would think so.
So say Luke was 19 in the first movie.
Which says very little for him as well. I mean...
But he's been
how?
raised
But
in
you-
a very harsh environment.
Yeah, and you're talking about being whining stuff. I mean, he's
knows
19.
that
He
the
has no
people
life
who raised
experience.
him are his parents. He doesn't even know who his parents is. He knows
He's not
there's a
concerned
wider
about who his
world.
parents are before.
He knows there's a wider world out there because all of his friends have gone off into that wider
Before
world.
Ben tells him that he's got a dad somewhere else, he's not thinking about his life outside of that.
I'll give you that.
I think that's
Well,
all
no,
he's thinking about. He's trying to get to the academy.
He's trying to get to the academy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with his lineage.
Okay, that's fine. You can have that point.
And his impatience, you know, like
He was
Owen
19.
Owen needs him to
How patient were you at 19, Micah? Come on.
Owen needs him to contribute on the farm. He needs him to
Spoken like a middle-aged man.
All I know is that everything that I've done through my life, I've noticed that any time, even at a very young age, when I try to rush through something, I botch it. So I stopped doing that extremely early in life. And every single thing that Luke has done was rushing to the point.
Never his mind on where he was.
Or he was doing. You know, it's like he's rushing to get off Tatooine.
So thank you,
hold on.
Yoda. That was important.
In Empire, he is rushing to go face Vader. And everybody is trying to tell him, slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down, because if you just take the time to learn some stuff here, you might be better prepared. I carried that with me through my whole life. So whether that made me a middle-aged man at 10 years old, I don't know.
So Yoda was your green Mr. Miyagi?
Oh my gosh, man. Because old Ben was everything to me.
Yep.
And then when he came back, or when you get introduced to Yoda, I mean, these are the things. Come on, I mean, you guys already know how I feel about Miyagi.
Yeah.
There's parallels between Miyagi and Yoda that are so there that I just leaned on, that I grasped on. They told me I needed to be patient to do things right. And I learned that in my everyday life. So
okay,
Luke Skywalker.
I can see your point about Luke. I'm just going to say, and maybe this is from middle-aged perspective, there's a little bit of grace I think I have, because I know when I was younger, I was rash and impetuous.
Same.
And I mean, that's kind of the definition of, you know, you're growing into your manhood, you're full of hormones, you want to be something more than you are.
And depending on your lifestyle choices, you're also full of alcohol
That's right.
and other stuff at a young
right.
age.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to take it so seriously.
So I
but
agree
that's-
with you on all your points. I get it. Yep.
I will say this.
Okay. On one sec.
Okay.
Rules.
Holding on.
This is a Star Wars love fest. No one should get upset or offended. We're all very passionate about the subject. All right? So we don't mean to offend. Micah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
Mike is
I'm going to
pushing
make
the
this so
envelope.
inappropriate for an Apple conversation. No, I just, that's just the way I worked.
Boys,
Yeah,
I
I get
have a little interjection here. I think it's about time that we see if we can loosen up the rocket fuel that we're drinking
Oh my God, for the love of Pete,
with
yes.
an ice cube. So, Brent, take us in. And we're back. All right, we have now got, what just seconds ago were very large ice balls going into this particular rock tower. Is that it?
Rocktown.
Rocktown Bourbon. And I don't know about you guys, but my ice cube actually screamed like a lobster being boiled alive. I've never heard that before. It's so strange. Wow. But I'm just going to go ahead and try this now.
Mine was a hissing noise.
It still burns.
Oh,
Still
man.
burns.
That's crazy.
Still burns.
I don't get it.
Oh.
It's way sweeter now though.
We have now found a whiskey that apparently defies the laws of physics.
And gives Brent more ammunition on Arkansas.
Like we needed that. Oh, sorry, Arkansas.
Oh, Arkansas.
It's a Star Wars love fest,
Come on.
not an Arkansas love
Arkansas,
fest.
I tried to give you... I gave
right.
you the stage, and what did you do with it?
Yeah, this is where we pull out the shepherd's crook and yank them off the stage.
Okay.
So what about that bottle of scotch that we had in the last episode? You got any more of that?
I might, and we could pretend that we're drinking the other stuff, but it's just so much more fun to drink this and rag on it. Oh man!
How do
All
we
right.
feel? How do we feel that the whiskey is pairing with the cigar?
Well, how does oil and water sound? I don't know.
Larry, you made a statement in the last episode that eventually we will find a pairing that doesn't work.
Mission accomplished.
You didn't know
glad
that you
I could
were-
bring this to the
Like
table.
George W. Bush, I am hanging the banner. Mission accomplished. We are on the aircraft carrier saying, hey, we did it. We said we were going to do it, and we did it. Well done, boys.
And then Brent
Well
looks
done.
at it and says, every time he's about to take a sip, not gonna do it.
Not
Wouldn't
good.
be
Wouldn't be
prudent,
prudent, yeah.
at this juncture.
1,000
Well.
points of light.
I'm actually seeing those right now every time I take a sip of this.
Why do I see stars? Mm-hmm. There's no stars out tonight.
Because we're talking about Star Wars.
Oh, segue.
It's full of stars. It's full of stars.
Oh God, that sucks.
Oh, my God.
You know what, Micah? We're going to finish it anyway.
We are.
We're committed now, man. That is the thing that I love about us boys is that once we commit, we commit.
I mean, I'm basically drinking a melted snow cone at this point that burns.
I am just telling you right now, I'm going to have the weirdest dreams tonight.
Oh my gosh, Grandpappy said never to drink the gasoline out of the shed, but I just didn't listen.
But I did.
I did it.
I should have listened, Grandpappy. I should have listened. Oh man, woo! But if you like Rocktown, by all means, enjoy what you enjoy. Oh.
Okay.
All right, let's get
Back
back to
to
it.
Star Wars.
Let's get back to it.
All right, I want to talk a little bit about Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
In particular, I want to talk about the seemingly gigantic character leap or personality leap that Luke Skywalker made between Empire and Jedi.
Okay.
Yep.
Because at the end of Empire, we see this kid who's just gotten this horrible piece of information and lost his hand.
Yep. Because he rushed.
But
Because
was
he
it horrible
rushed.
information? I mean, come on.
Oh, dude. It was the most horrible information. Just because you like Darth Vader doesn't change that fact.
Yeah.
Yo, daddy's a robot.
But suddenly, when we see him in the hologram that R2 presents to Jabba the Hutt, he's like this put together, very serious, non-emotional dude. Did that seem like a stretch to you guys?
It really did.
Okay, so it's a year between, even though it's 3 years between the actual movies, the timeline in Star Wars, it's a year between Empire and Return of the Jedi. Okay, so
here is Brent the apologist.
Yeah. So anyway, the whole point of the black outfit, originally, Lucas wanted Luke to become the new Vader. So at the end of Return of the Jedi, when he takes Vader's mask off, there was a scene where he puts the mask on and says, "Now I am Vader." And the point of the black outfit was we were watching a Luke that was in danger of turning to the dark side. And then at the last minute, you see the flap come open with a little bit of white. And that signifies his redemption because he was very tempted and about to go to the dark side.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I feel like Luke, all of the Luke bashing that I just did. Yes.
Okay, young Luke bashing.
Okay. A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back Luke, because he reverts in the post-schools.
Okay, so I have a problem with that. So we talked about how Disney, when they bought Lucas, they did away with everything the past 20-something years, all the books, all the comics, everything that were canon, and they called it Legends. I think I said Legacy last time, but it's actually called
Expanded
Legends.
Universe.
Yeah, well, it was they said okay, they
I
turned that
thought
into Legends.
Wait,
For
I'm
Disney,
sorry.
it became myth.
Yeah, not trying to like start an argument, but I thought that Legends came out like afterwards once they had to kind of assign it. But Expanded Universe was the name of the books and the expanded features that we got to fill in the blanks of the stories that we all wanted.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to argue it. But so in those books, we get to see the continued growth of Luke, right? And he becomes this crazy powerful Jedi. He goes around the galaxy exploring different tenets of the Force, right? Even going to the Witches of Dathomir and learning how they interact with the Force. And he's exploring all this, right?
And the
then
story of Mara Jade.
Yeah, and then he restarts the Jedi Academy. And
has kids.
Yeah, you even get to go through all that. So, and his kid was named Ben, by the way.
Well, I thought it was Jason.
No, that's Leia and Han.
No, in the books. I thought
in the book they
like...
have Jason, Jaden, and Anakin.
Okay.
Yeah, because she comes to terms with Vader being her father, and so they name him Anakin.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so we see this just like kick-ass Luke, right? I mean, he's just like the ultimate Jedi. And then we get to the post-schools, and he's this whiny hermit. Like, oh, I made a mistake, no, and goes and hides in a cave. And I was so mad. Even Mark Hamill didn't like what they did to the character, right?
Yeah.
But I was so mad when they saw it, because to me they just totally destroyed who Luke was.
Agreed. And where Disney got young Luke right was the season finale of Mandalorian season 2, where they're on board the ship and they're trying to capture the Darksaber.
Right, which is 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Right, and they're trapped by those terrible black droids.
Yeah.
And Luke shows up.
Oh yeah.
And just
Dark
opens up opens up a can of whoop ass.
Yeah.
And you saw, like, okay, so that for me was like a moment where I was like, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Because he had been doing all of that stuff.
Yeah.
He had been out there exploring and maybe in the entire history of this universe was one of the few guys that could walk that razor's edge between light and dark and figure out which was best.
Yeah.
And made that decision. But even when he comes in after whipping all that ass, he's still wearing black.
Well, there's a point in the expanded universe, I'll call it, where he actually does go to the dark side.
Yep.
For a while.
Because Mara Jade is actually sent by the
Emperor's hand.
And she actually makes her way over, and then she turns to the light side while Luke turns to the dark side.
Yeah.
And then she's got to bring him back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, staying within the three movies, and we were talking about Return of the Jedi. Now, it's like this. As an older person, the symbolism is obvious. When I watched it in, what was it, 83?
Yeah.
It wasn't that obvious to me.
Yeah.
That Luke was teetering, like he was challenged, like, whatever. I also have to say that Return of the Jedi of the three is my least favorite.
Yep.
Because it just seemed like Carrie Fisher had checked out, man.
She had.
Like, she was just like I remember there's this one line where she just goes, "Oh no."
Well, it actually started in Empire Strikes Back. If you watch a lot of those scenes, there's a scene in the bridge of the Millennium Falcon where she's saying a line. The problem was she was so into drugs at that time, she couldn't remember her lines. And you actually see Harrison Ford mouth the words along with her as she's saying them.
Oh.
Because they were always so worried that she was ever going to get the dialogue correct, or even get through her lines. So Empire was actually really hard to film because she was having tons of problems at that time. So, and I think those just kind of carried over into Return of the Jedi.
She was hanging out too much with John Belushi.
Yeah.
Larry, you didn't mention who you didn't relate to.
Oh, I thought he did.
I did.
Oh. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Lando Calrissian.
No. That's the one you liked, right?
No,
No.
that's one.
No.
Really
I love how Micah listens to us.
I got to tell
actively.
you, Micah is
So
not an
nice.
active listener.
Yeah, he's not. Clearly,
Yeah.
clearly
Did you say
not.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me know that I'm a good listener. I
And
appreciate
thanks for invalidating me.
Oh, Micah.
I did like how Mandalorian Luke and Return of the Jedi Luke were the same.
Pretty
character.
similar, yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing
Agreed.
that irritated me about that so much was that was Luke, and I know that was for the purposes of the story to further the storyline between Din Djarin,
Din Djarin, yeah.
Din Djarin and Grogu. I know that was the purpose of it, but the fact that Luke came up and made Grogu choose in a new line of Jedi when they have a chance to fix all the things that episode 8 Luke was saying was wrong with the Jedi.
No, I think that was absolutely in keeping with like the sort of Jedi code, which is
Well, you have to remember-
you have to
yeah.
make a
No,
choice.
you're right. It went with the Jedi code, but I mean, we didn't know about the text. We didn't know about the ancient texts that he came across later
Right.
on.
Yeah. Well,
He's just making it up as he went along.
let me ask you another question. So we talked about favorite character, least favorite character, or characters we identify with. What is your favorite ship in Star Wars?
The TIE Interceptor.
Slave One.
B-Wing.
B-Wing's a good ship.
B-Wing.
Love the B-Wing.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm a huge junkie for Empire ships.
Yeah.
On my desk at home, I have like every variation of the TIE
Yep.
ship, like just lined up over and over again. That led up to my all-time favorite Imperial ship was Shuttle Tidarium. The
Really?
Imperial shuttle.
Interesting.
The way those wings came in and out, I don't know what.
Yeah.
It just did it for me.
For me, it was Slave One because it was like it was a ship that when it was landed, it just looked like a shoehorn. Shouldn't have worked.
It shouldn't have worked. It's
And
the most
yet
awkward ship.
It was
The
an
way it
awkward
flies.
ship.
Like
but-
you're laying on your back when you land,
Yeah.
and then you take off
like
and you're
crawl
upright.
into
But
the
then,
pilots.
but yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that's why I loved it so much because it was so incongruous. I was like, that was my favorite ship.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back to the bourbon real quick.
Really?
No, my ice is almost completely melted, and there's still burns.
Yeah. This is normally I would ascribe this melting this quickly to the heat because we are Texas, but it's actually a mild night in September, and this does not account for it. I can still hear it screaming. I'm going to hold it up to the microphone. That's the ice, you guys. It's the ice.
Oh, another ship, and I hate to get on a general bandwagon.
Oh no, let's do it. Go
But
ahead.
another ship that I absolutely love is the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I
That's
know
kind of a
everybody-
gimme. Yeah.
It is, but then there's a variation.
Which, by the way,
Nerd alert!
the original Millennium Falcon looked a lot like the ships from Space 1999.
Get out of town.
And they thought, and someone said, that looks too much like Space 1999. So in, I don't know if it was a fever dream or what, but the Millennium Falcon was actually inspired by a hamburger with an olive on the side.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, another fun one. So I was telling you boys the other day that I watched a movie called Zapped with Scott Baio.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a scene where he's using his telekinetic powers to move a ship around in his room, and it was a freaking Millennium Falcon with actual, like, NCC 1701A nacelles backwards on it.
Oh my God!
What?
Yeah, because I had all those models. I knew exactly. I was like, oh my god!
And because somebody in the art department was like, we got to make a ship.
I guess we gotta just, piece these. Nobody will ever know.
No one will know.
Real quick, guys, let's talk about the second third.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because this cigar is going fast.
It is. Yeah. Brent, what do you got?
Ooh, spicy retro hell. Finally. Getting the pepper. Creamy mouthfeel still. But yeah, the retro hell is spicy. It's good. Like it.
It's a spicy meatball.
On my
Mike,
wolf,
what do you got?
Spicy
on my
retro
wolf,
hell.
my toasted almond is back with a mixture of creamy milk chocolate.
Nice.
It's really nice.
So almond chocolate milk.
Oh, hell yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Whole Foods. I'm starting to get a more mellow draw, which on a San Andreas wrapper is really kind of unusual.
Yeah.
But it is, I think it's just sort of mellowed out. Which is, again, the fire is closer to the draw, so that usually doesn't happen. I'm definitely getting some red and black pepper on this.
I keep tasting this bourbon, wanting to like it.
Yeah.
Now my ice
Just
is like
give it up.
completely, yeah.
Give it up.
Oh my gosh. My ice didn't have time to scream.
Oh, man.
Eulogy for an ice cube.
Oh, I was going to say, to build on
It's like Funeral for a Friend from Elton John. It's like a 12-minute song.
Right.
Go ahead, Micah.
There is a ship that was in the expanded universe. First time we ever saw it was in the Nintendo 64 Shadows of the Empire video game.
Z95?
No, it was Dash Rendar's ship, which is kind of a variation of the Falcon.
Yeah.
I think that it's actually from the YT class.
It is.
So
Yeah.
it was a Carillion ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm, while you guys are shooting the shit, I'm going to look it up and find out what the name of that is.
Okay.
But I love it.
So why do you like or love, in my case, what is it about Star Wars that's so appealing?
Well, okay, I'll go first. Number one, it was as a child in 1977. It was unlike any other thing I'd ever seen. I was always drawn to stories that were beyond my world. But this was a story beyond my world that had people like me in it.
Yeah.
Had people that I aspired to be like in it. But it was this completely different world.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's the things they're dealing with, the people they're dealing with, the issues they're dealing with. Everything is super relatable.
The themes are universal.
Yeah, it's not like, previous to that, it's like, sci-fi movies and TV shows were dealing with sci-fi problems, right? But these people are having real world problems. I mean, they've got family issues, they've got authoritarian issues, they've got legal issues, they've got all kinds of stuff going on. And I think that's one of the reasons.
And it's not cut and dried.
Right.
It's not black and white. It's very, very gray,
right,
which is the real world.
Right.
And it was the first science fiction I'd ever seen that dealt with that as just a part of the story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So I admire that. It's the same reason that my favorite superhero when I was a kid was Peter Parker Spider-Man. He was the first superhero I'd ever encountered that had real world problems. He was a superhero, but he was also a teenager, and he was in high school. And he was getting picked on.
Yeah.
And he was trying to find love, and he was an orphan, and he had a strained relationship with his Aunt May.
I see parallels for this and Star Wars.
Agreed. So
elaborate.
Well, I mean, what you were talking about before is like the orphan piece of this. People trying to find where they fit in. I mean, one of the arguments that's been made tons of times is that the Star Wars series takes the narrative of terrorism and flips it. because the Empire is doing,
Absolutely, because if you think about it really hard, the Rebel Alliance are a group of terrorists.
Yeah.
Depending on your perspective.
The Empire...
Cardinal Richelieu said treason is merely a matter of dates.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
And the Empire is, in their point of view, not justifying it, but from their point of view, they are building a society that is structured and that is functioning, and that people need to accept because this is how we survive. But obviously, but when you have the Rebel Alliance that are like, no. That kind of extreme, I think that's one of the things that caught my attention about that narrative.
Yeah.
There's a great line. So there's a song by a band called Thrill Kill Cult called Sex on Wheels.
Oh, I love that song.
From Cool World. You remember Cool
Yes.
World?
Yeah.
That's the first time I ever heard
And
it.
the line is, history is written by the winners, baby.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. 100% true.
And I think that fits into what you're talking about, is depending on your perspective, because it's all about perspective,
Yeah.
and you have to come down on what you think the side of right is. There are plenty of people in the world today who truly think that they can make the world better by instituting order for all, uniformity for all. We all think and feel and believe the same way.
Right.
I'm not part of that group.
I'm not either.
And never have been.
I heard something interesting. I actually read something interesting yesterday that a joke has been made about the different Darth names.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of talk about Vader, and of course the correlation to the German translation of Vater being father and
Father.
Vata.
Well, I think it's
in the movie Pitch Perfect, they make it's like it's literally Darth Father, and it's not, right? Because
and Darth is a variation of dark. So I mean,
yes,
the translation of the name is Dark Father.
Well, not exactly. Actually, you think about like Darth Sidious, Darth Insidious, Darth Tyrannus, tyranny. Mm-hmm. You think about Maul.
They're all what we associate as evil.
But Vader, this is one that I have never put together. And if you guys already figured this out, I bow to you. But Vader, Invader, that was the correlation that people were making.
No, I've never heard of that.
No, never.
Yep. Sorry.
Well, it doesn't mean I'm wrong.
We don't think that means you're wrong.
We don't think that means you're wrong. You're welcome to have whatever opinion you want. I'm just saying we've never heard that.
You're welcome to have any opinion you want.
All we're saying is
wrong.
we've never heard that. That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize that putting, IN in front of Sidious and Vader actually fit in the
that makes
theme.
sense. Oh, but doesn't work for Plagueis, though. Plagueis?
Plagueis?
Or
Plague?
Tyrannus.
In Plagueis or
Tyrannus,
in
tyranny.
Tyrannus.
That's where I went with that.
Okay.
Tyrannus, tyranny, Plagueis, plague, all kinds of Maul, devour.
Yeah.
The point being that all the names given to the various Darths throughout that history are implied evil.
Correct.
Darth Bane. I mean, that's just the easiest one.
That is pretty easy.
Yeah.
Because that was the Darth that broke Batman's back. Because we all are nerds and we know that story. Darth Bane.
I was born in it.
That's one of my favorite voices to do, because I thought, totally off topic, but when Tom Hardy would do that voice.
Yeah, I don't get it. That was so funny.
Tom Hardy did that voice was because he didn't do that voice.
He did do that voice.
Did he? I thought that he had a voiceover on
No,
him.
brother.
No,
that's
it was
Tom
him.
Hardy.
It was Tom Hardy.
I'm going to have to look that up.
That's
Yeah.
Tom Hardy. And this is coming to you as a guy who can recognize anybody's voice in a movie.
Fair enough.
So a cool little piece of trivia about Star Wars, and there's tons of really cool facts about Star Wars, but a cool little...
alert!
Brent's got them
Sorry.
all.
Nerd alert!
I forgot to hit the button. So Princess Leia. First of all, let me say, I'm one of those people that I'm not fun to play Star Wars Trivia Pursuit or any
me
kind of
neither.
Star Wars game with, right?
Does your family have the same rule? I'm allowed to answer 3 questions,
Yes.
and then I have to
Yes.
stop.
Yes.
I'm not allowed.
We have that rule.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
answer
Oh
3
my
questions,
God.
and then I can't play anymore.
Yep,
so awesome.
exactly. We have the
So
exact
you're
same
out
rule.
early in
That's
every
funny.
game.
Well,
No.
No.
I still win.
yeah, me too.
But the problem is you would win every question. Like you fill up your pie super fast.
Yeah.
So I
because
get
you're
limited.
basically getting a pie on every turn,
Yeah.
Right.
So
assuming the dice are friendly.
So Princess Leia, she's held in detention block AA-23. cell 2187, sub-level 5. The number 2187 is significant because you subtract 21 from 87, you get 66. Also, in The Force Awakens, we meet Finn, who's FN 2187, which was an homage.
Also,
Yeah.
prisoner transfer from cell block
1138.
Yeah.
THX 1138.
Yes.
That's right. Okay, do you know what the number of the garbage compactor was?
I don't.
Me neither.
Come on, 326-3827. Come on. Who doesn't know that?
Oh yeah, come on.
Is that the number to
Hit
Jenny?
that button, Brett.
Wait, is
Hit that button.
Is that the number to Jenny? Oh, it's
That was-
8675309.
Yeah, it was. It was very close. You were very close.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought that was cool how they tie stuff together. And, you know, the whole thing between Steven Spielberg and... Matter of fact, Lucas lost a bet to Steven Spielberg. So Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out the same year, right? And Lucas bet a 2.5% stake in the movie against Spielberg's movie, because he thought Close Encounters would be a bigger hit than bigger hit than Star Wars, right? Well, he lost that bet, and it ended up costing him like I think the number was $20 million or something like that. Yeah, crazy.
Well,
And
Spielberg's
that's how E.T. got made.
I was like, drop in the hat.
And what I was
Go.
starting with is how Spielberg and Lucas would put elements of each other's movies. Like in Indiana Jones, there's pictures of C-3PO and R2 in the temple. There's an R2 on the ship in Close Encounters. I think it's Close Encounters. And then, of course, the E.T. species is in the prequels, right? In the Senate scene, there's
Yeah.
So-
R2's flying across the screen in Star Trek, the Kelvin timeline.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. If you have a pause moment where there's all this debris in space and R2's floating across the screen, I know that's not between Spielberg and Lucas.
Yeah, that's like in Return of the Jedi, or I'm sorry, Empire, when they go into the asteroid scene and there's a potato in there that the special effects guy stuck in there, and there's a shoe in there they stuck in there. It goes by the screen real fast. So funny. Yeah.
We were talking about favorite characters, and I have to say that I have to divide mine because I did name Old Ben right off the bat, but R2-D2 is probably one of my all-time favorite characters as well.
You know what's funny is I was going to say R2 at first.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, he's been there through it all, right?
Yeah, he has. And he's the reason why everything is going
I'm
the way
sorry.
it does.
We're saying it. I don't know if it has a gender, but
Well, it was Kenny Baker. He was a he.
Yeah, so
yeah.
Kenny Baker's in there. I'm giving it a he.
okay. All right. All right.
He.
Also, speaking of that, so Anthony Daniel was not going to be the original voice of C-3PO. And David Prowse is
Yeah. The
Prowse.
original voice of David Prowse.
Yeah.
Or the original voice of Darth Vader was David Prowse, who was the
Yeah.
actor inside Darth Vader's costume.
Didn't you send
But
us a video on
apparently-
this with the comparison?
No, I did.
You did?
I
oh my
did.
gosh, it's too funny.
Because apparently when
Take
David
him away.
Prowse Prowse did his read, it sounded like he had mouth sexed a can of helium.
yeah.
And so they got James
You're
Earl
part
Jones.
of a rebel alliance.
And,
Yeah.
And
Take
also,
him away.
Part of the Rebel Alliance.
Also,
Take him away.
Interesting fact: James Earl Jones got paid $7,000 for 2 hours. That's how long
Yeah.
it took him to record all the dialogue for
Yeah.
Vader. Yeah.
Which back then was a decent amount of cash.
Well, for 12-minute screen time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And he wasn't credited. He didn't want to be credited. And then later on, when Star Wars became a big deal, he's like, okay, I'll take
All
the
right,
credit.
yeah,
it
I
was
think
me.
I'll take
It was me, you guys. It was me.
It was me.
Totally me.
Yeah. I love that. There's a scene in one of the Big Bang episodes when they go to see, they find out where James Earl Jones lives, and they go to his house, you know, and he thinks that someone's pranking him, and he comes out and he's like, I don't need this. I have Vader money.
And by the way, I do want to tell our listeners, we all recently were mourning the passing of James Earl Jones,
God
who
rest.
for nerds was just so important because he was not only the voice of Darth Vader, he was, Thulsa Doom in Conan the Barbarian. He was in Doctor
Lothar Zog,
Strangelove. Yeah, he was Doctor Strangelove. He was so important to us. And if you guys have never heard it, on YouTube, there's a character called Chad the Bird. He's a Muppet. And his latest episode, and I highly recommend you go out and do this if you're a James Earl Jones fan, he does a really moving eulogy for James Earl Jones, and he does it in the Star Wars scroll where the words are scrolling up the page like at the beginning of every movie. and it's funny and endearing at the same time.
The Crawl.
And it's
The
called
Crawl.
that episode's called Space Tourist, by the way.
Space Tourist,
Awesome.
yeah. So by all means, go and check that out.
So speaking of The Crawl, let's talk about the technology of Star Wars, of making the movie. I
Yeah.
mean, because they invented technology to make this movie.
they absolutely did, and John Dykstra was a huge part of that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I
Because
love all
it was
the model work.
because I think John wasn't John the guy who pioneered. Well, hey, let's not make the models move. Let's make the camera move
Yeah,
across
because-
the models.
yeah, because-
and it'll give the simulation of the models moving.
Right, and also because of the green screen and stuff too. That was another thing. So he developed a computer-driven camera so they could replicate the same moves over and over again, so they could layer shots, right? Which is extremely
that's just
cool.
genius.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's crazy.
And I'll never forget this. Like, we're not talking about the prequels. We're not talking about the prequels, but I remember.
No, we're talking about the prequels.
I remember.
I'm not saying it's
I remember
aliens.
there was a behind the scenes. They did a big behind the scenes thing of the making of the prequels, and there's a production meeting, and they are storyboarding the pod race, which is a great scene.
I really like the
Yeah,
It's a
that's
great
cool.
scene, and they
That video
so
game was
if you
fun
don't
too,
know
by the
what
way.
a storyboard is, it is where they have pieces of illustration and copy all up on these giant boards, and they're all in different colors depending on what specific part of the scene they're talking about. And George is laying out his vision for the pod race, and at the end of all of it, his special effects supervisor says, "We don't have the technology to make that happen. Give us 6 weeks." And then
Yeah.
they went and invented it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right, boys, before we get too far along, final third. This is a Petite Lancero. We've obviously burned through these. I would like to know your final third and then your final thoughts on the monsters that I gave you this evening.
I'm relighting a lot, but
I am too.
it may have something to do with the atmosphere out here.
I'm not having to do that.
Well, I'm relighting a lot because I was trying to slow down.
Yeah, but
Fair.
I kept putting it down so I wouldn't smoke it.
so in direct contrast to what I was saying about patience, I exert none of that patience on this one. So I am probably like 3 centimeters further than these gentlemen here. This is definitely creamy. My chocolate is gone. It's all toasted nuts and hay and earth.
That's funny because mine has turned into creamy, but creamy chocolate, and I am getting some toasted nuts. But but the cedar came back. Yeah.
That's an interesting thing because that's like the flavor profile started one way, went away, came back.
I am absolutely in the tack room right now because it is just
Oh, that's your happy place.
it really is. It's oily leather and hay and musk and dirt and this is one, like, if I was going to be in a Clint Eastwood spaghetti western, this is the cigar that I would have.
Oh, nice.
Clutched in the corner of my mouth. I'd be like staring down the bad guy.
Oh, good
Oh,
stuff.
it's so good.
With a cast
Yeah.
iron plate underneath your poncho.
Well, no, because I'm going to shoot that dude first. I ain't got to worry about that.
That was Clint Eastwood's problem.
It's Larry you're talking about. Jeez.
We would have started the episode. There would have been no delay. Just
Probably
would've- blam.
I probably could shoot that guy first, if I'm being honest, but whatever. Let's wrap this up, guys, because we all like this was we actually did have a little bit of conflict in this episode,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But by
Yeah.
all means, it's been a Star Wars love fest. Give me your final thoughts on the original trilogy, Mike.
Well,
Not Micah. You're Brent. Wow, man.
see what
It's-
this rocket
it's
fuel has
Arkansas.
done.
It
That's
is.
right.
You see
Rocket
what
fuel
this
has
is
done to
Arkansas-
Larry.
You see what your Arkansas like firewater has done to me? It's made me a dumb person.
Well, first of all, I want to say I think we will have to come back and revisit this subject because, again, this is one of those subjects we could talk forever about.
totally.
And it's hard to pack a complete discussion
Truly it is.
into an hour and a half,
Agreed.
really, right?
Agreed.
My final thoughts. So, Star Wars changed my life as a kid. I mean, I wanted nothing more than to be a Jedi when I was a kid. You know, I wanted those magical powers. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, I forgot a little piece of trivia too. I was going to talk about.
Oh, hit it.
The lightsaber in the very first Star Wars. If you watch the Millennium Falcon when they're doing the training,
Yeah.
that's a practical effect. That is not rotoscoped or
Agreed.
CGI'd, right?
Yeah, I know that.
So what they did is they had this reflective tape, and they taped it on. It was 3 sides. They taped it onto a metal pole, and in the hilt of the lightsaber, which Luke's lightsaber was made in New York, by the way, Graflex. It rotated that reflective tape, that pole of that
Wow.
reflective tape. So if you look at Star Wars and you see the pulsing in the Millennium Falcon scene where it's training, that's actually a practical effect where that reflective tape is rotating and creates that effect, which I thought was really cool.
And the
because
lightsaber-
originally all the lightsabers were going to be white, and
That's
then
what
later
I was about to say.
and then later on they decided, hey, let's have the colors for the Sith will always be red, and then the other Jedi can pick their colors.
That's why I always felt bad about the battle between Vader and Obi-Wan was, I'm sorry, the final one, was when they were and he's, what was it, Old Ben is like basically exchanging a couple of, and it looks like his lightsaber's just fizzling out. Yeah. Fit. He's like,
fizz.
this is why I'm actually dying, because my lightsaber is very old.
Micah, and I'm getting this right because I'm actually looking at Micah. Final thoughts on the trilogy.
I'm with Brent on this one. It actually was my gateway drug to all the other sci-fi that I needed to dig into because, as you two have so lovingly pointed out constantly, I came into the game late. So when I got to see this, it actually expanded my love for other sci-fi. And I'm like, I need to find more. So I dig into old Battlestar. I dig into, well, I'm not going to say I dug into Star Trek because I was already there. But that, love.
Agreed. I think my appreciation and love for the trilogy has changed over time because when you're a kid, you're enamored with action and conflict and, the idea that if I was in that situation, I would choose to do the right thing and whatever. As I got older and I started to learn more about the history behind the making of the films and the fact that Lucas was basically an acolyte of a guy like Joseph Campbell, who was one of the most brilliant humans who ever lived. And the fact that he got to, if you guys ever get, I'll try to find these interviews and send them to you because it's the only time I ever saw George Lucas fangirl in the presence of a guy like Joseph Campbell. He all but said out loud, "You're the reason I made these movies." The mythology, the folklore, the archetype of the hero and the hero's journey, that became, quite without understanding it as a child, that became a very important thing for me. And it's probably the reason I became a storyteller, because that arc and that journey became so fascinating to me. And it turned me into a cinephile. I'd watched movies before Star Wars, but I'd never, ever gotten into it so deep that I was like, I want to understand this. I want to understand this.
Nodding.
And so everything that came after that was part of my journey along that storytelling line. And so even to this day, a lot of times when I watch a film or a television series, I'm backing up and comparing it. And I'm like, well, is this following a traditional mythological archetype, or is this something different, or is it just being gratuitous or whatever? And that's all because of Star Wars. That's all because I watched those movies as a kid, and I very clearly remember in 1983, I was a sophomore in high school, and me and my friends.
I was in elementary school.
Sweet. Me and my friends were driving to the Oak Ridge Theater in the Woodlands to go see Return of the Jedi. And this was back before you could get reservations or whatever. And we got there hours and hours before the showtime.
Oh, yeah.
And we got in line, and we didn't bitch or complain at all. We were so excited to see that movie. Because by the time Star Wars and Empire, and I didn't even like the guys that I went with, who are still some of my best friends, we didn't even know each other in 77 or 81. But by the time we got to high school and we found each other, and we were like, "You're Star Wars too? Oh my God!" we were on our own quest at that point. We were on a quest to see that show, and we were on a quest to see that show first showing. We were not going to miss it.
And that's one thing you mentioned, standing in line. That's one thing I remember when a movie was super popular. I mean, that's what you had to do. You literally went hours before a show to get in line and hopefully get a ticket.
Yeah. Do you guys remember the lines for episode 1?
Oh, I actually do. Yeah.
I mean, they were
insane.
insane.
That was crazy. I mean, there were people camped out. Like they brought tents.
Like
and
tents.
They came the day before and they camped out. Yeah.
Yeah. So that just speaks to the impact.
Yeah.
That the original trilogy had on the pop culture.
Oh, and by the way, the Dash Rendar's ship was called the Outrider. The Outrider.
There you
nice. Go. I like.
Oh
the name.
yeah. You're right. I remember that now. Yeah. Dash Rendar.
That reminds me of a song by the Outlaws called Ghost Riders in the Sky. I don't know why. Ghost Riders in the sky.
Because Larry is deep in his cups with this firewater.
Well, I'm not that deep.
Well, I just want to make one mention about this whiskey for anybody who's interested in trying the Rocktown. Please pour yourself like maybe one finger and then add 1 cup of water.
And it'll still burn.
One cup of
Drink
water.
your rocket fuel responsibly.
I'm not talking about a pipette. I'm talking about a cup. Go to the kitchen, get yourself a measuring cup, and do it.
Your mom's got that Pyrex on the bottom shelf.
Well, the cool thing is, Micah, you don't need to stop at a gas station on the way home. You can just pour that in your tank.
That's true.
That's probably actually accurate. Well, guys, this has been awesome. Thank you so much, Brent, for bringing this topic to the table. I was going to say thank you, Micah, for bringing the bottle, but I don't know how I feel about that.
Don't do that.
But you know what? You can never hit a home run if you never step up.
Thank you for participating.
I'm going to say thank you because it gave us so much material.
Well, we just lost our 2 fans in Arkansas, but that's okay.
Sorry, guys.
Okay. We're building more fans all
Just
the time.
for the record, I want to say I actually love Arkansas. They have one of the prettiest lakes in the world up there.
Oh, true story.
And I actually lived in Arkansas for a little while when I was a kid.
When he was a kid, meaning when he wasn't drinking firewater.
That's right.
All right, that's going to wrap up this episode of Nerd Herfers. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, if you would like to be a part of the Nerd Herfers community, please go to nerdherfers.com. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks as always for tuning in. I'm Larry Brantley along with Micah Donahoe.
Live long and prosper.
And Brent Williams.
Keep your shirt on.
Please keep your shirt on. Thank you guys so much. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, there were 3 guys who enjoyed cigars and whiskey and lightsabers. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Let's go out with something really hot for these folks. A big hit out of 77. Star Wars. Nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars. Don't let them end.
This has been a production of Nerd Herfers, copyright 2024, all rights reserved. No portion of this broadcast may be used without permission. Please visit nerdherfers.com for more information and full legal disclaimer, you nerd.
And hey, how about that nutty Star Wars bar? Can you forget all the creatures in there? And hey, Darth Vader in that black and evil mask. Did he scare you as much as he scared me? Star Wars! Those near and far war! My 7th winner up here! Star Wars!
May the Force be with you.